It started with a whisper, a single message buried deep in a VH1 fan forum that read, "There's a whole season they never showed us." At first, nobody believed it. Fans thought it was just another rumor, the kind that floats around after a finale ends on to clean a note. But within days, screenshots began to circulate, production schedules, call sheets, even a blurred-out clip from what appeared to be an unreleased confession booth scene. Suddenly, the internet was in flames. Something had been hidden, and not just a deleted scene or an unaired episode, but an entire season that VH1 allegedly locked away. According to a supposed insider, this missing season was too raw, too real, and too dangerous for the network to air. They said producers had crossed lines, personal, legal, and emotional, all in the name of higher ratings. Stars had broken contracts, fights had turned violent, relationships had imploded, and a scandal involving one of VH1's top producers allegedly threatened to destroy not just the show, but the network's reputation. "You think you know the story?" the insider claimed in a leaked voice note, "but what we filmed that year would have ended careers." The leak hit like a storm. Former cast members started acting strange online. One deleted her Instagram overnight. Another went live, crying, saying, "I can't talk about it, but y'all will see the truth soon." Fan pages began dissecting every old episode, looking for clues, missing storylines, broken continuity, characters who suddenly vanished with no explanation. And then came the name drop, Monica Fields. She wasn't supposed to be part of that season at all, yet her name appeared on leaked crew lists. Whispers say she was brought in secretly to replace a main cast member who'd filed a complaint against VH1 itself. Behind closed doors, producers reportedly scrambled to contain the fallout. Insiders say hush money was paid, NDAs were rewritten, and one entire editing team was replaced. But it was too late. The truth was slipping out piece by piece through former assistants, jilted castmates, and crew who'd been silenced for years. Fans who once laughed at the chaos were now watching with unease, wondering just how deep the manipulation went. And then, just days ago, a new anonymous account appeared on X, posting, "Tonight, 9 p.m. I'll drop the footage they didn't want you to see." The tweet got over 800,000 views in an hour. The account vanished within minutes, but not before someone downloaded the video. It showed something so explosive, so unfiltered, that viewers swore it couldn't have been staged. VH1's official socials went silent. One producer locked her account. And now, fans everywhere are asking the same question. What did VH1 hide, and why did they think we'd never find out? The night that footage leaked, VH1 headquarters went into silent lockdown. Phones were confiscated. Editors were told to step away from the timeline. Inside one of the glass conference rooms, executive producer Jordan Hale slammed his hand on the table so hard that the coffee spilled across the floor. "Who the hell still has access to that server?" he shouted, eyes darting between the production managers who sat frozen in their seats. No one spoke. Every staffer had signed multiple NDA renewals that year, but now it looked like one of them had broken the golden rule: never leak unfinished footage. Jordan's assistant, Mila, whispered, "Sir, the timestamp on that clip, it's from week 8. That's from the lost season." The room fell into a suffocating quiet. Jordan's face went pale. "Week 8, he repeated, under his breath, as if saying it out loud made it real. Outside, fans were already tearing apart the footage frame by frame. It wasn't just a behind-the-scenes blooper. It showed something darker, a fight between two main cast members, Tiana and Renee, that spiraled out of control. In the clip, Tiana screamed, "You think you can play me and still run to production for sympathy?" before throwing a glass across the set. Renee lunged forward, yelling, "You signed your soul to VH1, don't act innocent now." Security intervened, but someone kept filming. The camera shook, voices overlapped, and a man off-screen was heard saying, "Keep rolling, this is gold." That voice, fans claimed, belonged to Jordan Hale himself. As the leak spread, Tiana posted a cryptic story. "They made us look crazy when all we did was tell the truth." Within hours, Renee fired back on Twitter, "Tell the truth. Girl, you begged them to edit your meltdown out." It was chaos, pure and unfiltered. Gossip sites ran headlines like VH1's secret season explodes online and cast war exposed, faked storylines and real blood. Even major outlets started asking questions. Why had VH1 suddenly canceled that year's reunion special without explanation? Why did the network scrub all promotional material 2 weeks before the premiere? Fans demanded answers, but the network's official response was a single, cold statement. VH1 has no comment at this time. Inside her apartment in Atlanta, Renee's younger sister, Cara, watched the clip again and again, shaking her head. She'd told Renee to walk away months ago. "They're using you," she'd said. "You're just content to them." But Renee had stayed. She wanted the fame, the sponsorships, the red carpet invites. Now, she sat on her couch, watching her worst moment go viral. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Her agent, her mother, even her ex. "They're making it look like I attacked her for no reason," she cried, voice trembling. "But that wasn't the full story. They provoked me," her sister whispered. "Then why did they cut the part where she hit you first?" Renee's answer was simple: "Because that's the footage they don't want anyone to see." Meanwhile, Jordan met privately with the head of VH1's legal department. "We can't afford this to blow up," he muttered. "We've got contracts, sponsorships, advertisers," but the lawyer interrupted. "The bigger issue is consent. Some of that footage was never cleared by the cast. If it's out there, we're in violation." Jordan rubbed his forehead, exhaling. "Then we bury it deeper. Leak or no leak, no one finds out what we filmed that summer." But the truth was already spreading faster than he could control. Someone from the editing bay, a junior assistant named Lauren, had started talking to bloggers under a fake name. She claimed she'd seen raw tapes labeled Project X, Do Not Distribute, containing scenes so chaotic that production staff were told to erase backups. But Lauren didn't erase them. She'd kept copies. "You don't understand," she told a blogger in a voice note. "They covered up real damage. Emotional, physical, reputational. That season broke people." The next morning, Tiana went live on Instagram, visibly shaking. Her followers doubled within hours. "I'm tired of being quiet," she said. "They made me sign papers saying I couldn't talk about what happened. But guess what? That paper means nothing when my name's being dragged." Comments flooded in. "Spill the tea. We support you." Was it true about Jordan? She hesitated, glancing off-screen before saying softly, "Jordan wasn't just the producer. He was involved with one of us." That sentence alone set the internet ablaze. Within minutes, gossip pages ran with the headline, "VH1 producer had secret relationship with cast member." Though she didn't name who, fans immediately suspected Renee, especially after old behind-the-scenes clips showed the two sharing suspiciously private moments. Renee's response came swiftly, an emotional, unfiltered TikTok. Mascara running, she stared into the camera and said, "Y'all think I was sleeping my way to the top? Please, if anyone crossed lines, it was him." She then claimed Jordan had manipulated her during filming, promising to protect her image in exchange for loyalty. She said, "He told me, the network loves a villain, but they'll destroy you if you don't play along." I believed him. Her confession went viral overnight, gaining millions of views. Fans flooded VH1's comment sections, demanding justice. Behind the scenes, Jordan panicked. His phone was buzzing non-stop. Executives, lawyers, even his own wife. "You need to fix this," his boss barked over the phone. "Do a damage control interview. Say it's all lies." But Jordan refused to go public. Instead, he started calling old cast members, begging them to stay quiet. "This isn't about us anymore," one of them told him. "It's about what you made us do." In a hotel room across town, Lauren, the assistant who'd leaked the tapes, sat by her laptop, watching the chaos unfold. Her inbox was full of interview requests. She'd started this to expose the truth, but now she wasn't sure. "They're going to find me," she whispered to her friend on the phone. "They know someone from post-production had access." Her friend asked, "You're scared now?" Lauren paused. "I'm not scared for me. I'm scared for what's next. Because there's more. Way more." Then came the bombshell. A 12-minute video dropped anonymously on Reddit. It contained new footage from the lost season, a production meeting where Jordan could be heard telling editors, "We need to push Tiana as unstable. I don't care what the truth is. Chaos sells." In the same clip, another producer joked, "We should leak that fight ourselves." Free promo. The video confirmed everything fans had suspected, that storylines were manufactured, fights were staged but turned real, and cast members were psychologically manipulated for ratings. The fallout was instant. Tiana trended #1 worldwide. Renee deactivated her accounts. Jordan disappeared from social media entirely. VH1 issued another cold statement. "We are reviewing the alleged materials and take all claims seriously." But viewers weren't buying it. A wave of former staffers began speaking out anonymously, each adding more detail. One claimed a cast member had ended up in therapy for months after filming. Another said a scene was staged so cruelly that even the cameraman refused to keep rolling. And then, finally, a rumor surfaced that the lost season included a moment so explosive that the network's legal team had ordered every copy destroyed. But that destruction never happened, because Lauren had it. And as she sat staring at her computer screen that night, finger hovering over the upload button, she whispered to herself, if they wanted silence, they picked the wrong person. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. It read, "Stop now, or you'll regret it." Her heart pounded. Outside, thunder rolled through the city. She took a deep breath, clicked upload, and the screen froze for a moment before the progress bar began to move. 5%, 20, 40. Her hands shook. When it hit 99%, her laptop went black. Someone, somewhere, had cut her access. She looked up, realizing her Wi-Fi was gone. And in that stillness, she heard a knock at her door. Lauren froze. The knocking grew louder, slow and deliberate, echoing through her small apartment. She reached for her phone, but the screen stayed blank. No signal. No Wi-Fi, nothing. She whispered to herself. They found me. Outside, a man's voice called softly, "Miss Davis, open the door, please. We just want to talk." She didn't move. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she backed away, staring at the dark laptop screen. She had thought she was prepared for this, but nothing about that voice felt official. She stayed quiet, waiting, until the knocking stopped. Then, a minute later, she heard the unmistakable click of someone trying a key. Panic surged through her. She grabbed her hard drive, the one labeled Season 7 Raw, and slipped it inside her hoodie pocket. The door creaked. She ran to the back of the apartment, climbed out through the fire escape, and vanished into the wet, empty streets. Meanwhile, social media had exploded. The partial upload that made it online before her laptop shut down was enough to send fans into chaos. The clip showed the cast gathered in a dimly lit lounge, faces tense, eyes swollen from crying. Tiana was confronting a producer. "You told us it was therapy," she shouted. "You said this was supposed to help us." The producer's voice came through calm but cold. "It did help. Ratings went up 20%. The room erupted. Someone threw a chair, another stormed out, and off-screen, a man laughed. That laugh, fans swore, belonged to Jordan Hale. Overnight, the hashtag VH1 cover-up trended worldwide. Influencers, journalists, and even former reality stars joined in, calling for the network to release the entire season. But VH1's offices stayed silent. One intern later claimed that staff were told to go offline, ignore everything, and prepare for an emergency meeting. By dawn, several executives' emails had leaked, showing internal panic. One read, "Damage control may not be possible. Jordan needs to disappear." While the world speculated, Jordan was already gone. Paparazzi spotted him at the airport, wearing sunglasses and carrying a single bag. A bystander filmed him arguing with someone on the phone. "You can't pin this all on me," he said, his voice strained. "They wanted drummy, I delivered it." The video ended there, but it only deepened the mystery. Fans now saw him as both villain and victim, a man who had built an empire of chaos and was now running from its collapse. Back in Atlanta, Tiana sat in her living room with her mother, replaying the leaked clip. She looked broken. "They'll say I'm lying," she whispered. Her mother, a quiet woman with tired eyes, said softly, "Then show them what they did." Tiana nodded. That night, she called Lauren from a burner phone. "I have something," she said, "something they can't hide." On the other end, Lauren sounded exhausted. "You sure you want to go through with this?" Tiana hesitated, then answered, "I'm done being their puppet." They agreed to meet the next morning, but Lauren never showed up. By noon, news broke that Lauren's apartment had been broken into. Her laptop and drives were gone. Police claimed there were no signs of forced entry, but her neighbors reported seeing two men in black suits leaving the building around 3 a.m. The same hour, Lauren fled. Renee posted a black screen on her story with a single line, "They're cleaning house." Fans flooded her DMs, begging for more information. She didn't reply. Then, without warning, a mysterious account appeared on YouTube under the name VH1 Truth Files. The channel had one video titled "The Season They Buried." It began with static, then showed raw production footage, handheld, shaky, unedited. In it, the cast was in a hotel suite, arguing with a crew member who was telling them to act more emotional. Tiana's voice broke through. "You're asking me to fake something that's already destroying me." Another voice shouted, "You signed the contract." And then, in the background, Jordan appeared. He was holding a stack of papers, yelling, "Nobody leaves until we finish the scene." The clip was terrifyingly real. Tears, shouting, broken glass, nothing like the glossy drama fans were used to. Within minutes, the video gained millions of views before being taken down. But copies spread everywhere. Redditors mirrored it, TikTokers analyzed it frame by frame, and journalists began calling it the reality TV scandal of the decade. One entertainment lawyer even claimed the footage violated federal laws because cast members were forced to film under emotional distress. As pressure mounted, VH1's statement finally dropped. These materials are fabricated. No such season exists. But fans weren't convinced. Too many insiders were speaking. One former camera operator tweeted anonymously, "I was there. It happened. They just don't want you to see what they did after that night." That single post gathered 500,000 likes and reignited the fire. In the midst of the chaos, Renee broke her silence with an hour-long live stream. Mascara smudged, voice shaking, she said, "I kept quiet because they threatened to sue me, but Lauren risked everything to tell the truth." She revealed that during filming, producers had encouraged her to provoke Tiana, even offering bonuses for dramatic confrontation. She said, "They told me, cry, scream, throw something, it'll make you a star. I didn't realize they were filming us when the cameras were supposed to be off." Viewers were horrified. Comments poured in. "This is abuse disguised as entertainment. They exploited these women for money. Release the full season." Jordan's silence grew suspicious. Tabloids reported that he'd checked into a private rehab facility under a false name. Others claimed he'd fled the country. But late one night, a voicemail leaked to a gossip blog, allegedly from Jordan to a former VH1 producer. His voice sounded exhausted. "They told me to do it," he said. "They said chaos sells, no matter who gets hurt. I didn't want it to go this far." The message ended abruptly with the sound of him whispering, "If they find me, it's over." The next morning, that same producer, one of Jordan's closest colleagues, was found dead in what police called a possible suicide. Fans weren't buying that either. Hashtags like #JusticeForLauren and #VH1Truth trended globally. Even rival networks began covering the story, airing documentaries about the dark side of reality TV. Everyone wanted a piece of the scandal. But amid the noise, a new post surfaced from an unverified account. It showed a photo of a hard drive with a sticky note that read, "Backup copy full season." The caption said, "She trusted the right person." The post vanished minutes later, but not before screenshots spread. Whispers began again. Maybe Lauren wasn't gone. Maybe she'd hidden the footage before the break-in. And if that was true, someone still had it. Someone who hadn't spoken yet. Renee and Tiana, once sworn enemies, met privately in a downtown cafe days later. Cameras outside caught only fragments, hushed voices, tears, a long hug before they parted. Inside sources claimed they were planning to go public together, united against the network that pitted them against each other. "They wanted to destroy us," Tiana reportedly said, "but we'll destroy their lies instead." The next evening, fans noticed something strange. VH1's entire website went offline for 3 hours. When it returned, hundreds of old clips, interviews, and behind-the-scenes videos had vanished. It looked like a digital purge, but it was too late. The truth was everywhere now, living in the screenshots, the reposts, and the memories of fans who refused to let it die. And somewhere in that chaos, an email began circulating privately among journalists. It was from a burner account, no name, no trace, but it contained a single line that made every recipient's blood run cold. "If you thought the leaked season was bad, wait until you see what they filmed next year." By now, the scandal had grown beyond control. What began as a rumor about a lost season had turned into a full-blown corporate meltdown. Inside VH1's Midtown headquarters, executives held emergency meetings behind locked doors while security guarded every entrance. They thought deleting the evidence would calm things down, but the opposite happened. The more they tried to hide, the louder the world became. Reporters camped outside the building, cameras flashing as exhausted employees slipped in and out, eyes down, refusing to answer questions. "Are you aware of the leaked footage?" one shouted. Another yelled, "Did VH1 pay cast members to stay silent?" No one responded. But someone finally did, someone no one expected. Monica Fields, the mysterious name from the leaked crew list, appeared on live television. Until that moment, most fans believed she didn't exist at all. She was introduced as a former production consultant for the network. Wearing a black suit and speaking with measured calm, she said, "Yes, the unreleased season was real. Yes, it was filmed. And no, it was never destroyed." Gasps filled the studio. She continued, "What the public doesn't know is that the footage was hidden not because of violence or profanity, but because it revealed the truth about how far production would go to manipulate human emotion for profit." Her interviews sent the internet into complete hysteria. Every word she spoke was dissected, quoted, and replayed. She described scenes where producers gave cast members fake medical diagnoses to create shock value. She talked about a night when the cast was trapped in a set house with no phones and told they couldn't leave until they gave the breakdown the audience wanted. She said, "It wasn't just TV, it was psychological warfare." The host tried to interrupt, asking for proof, but Monica only smiled. "Proof?" she said. "Check your inbox." At that exact moment, journalists across the country received anonymous emails containing video files or raw, unedited footage that showed exactly what she described. The videos spread faster than VH1 could stop them. One clip showed a cast member being told she wouldn't be allowed to see her child until she finished her emotional arc. Another showed Jordan shouting, "We're not shooting a documentary, we're making television." Each new revelation added fuel to the fire. Fans were outraged, demanding criminal investigations. Government agencies began to take interest, hinting at violations of labor and consent laws. VH1's sponsors started pulling out, one by one. What had once been a billion-dollar brand was crumbling before everyone's eyes. Inside the chaos, Jordan finally resurfaced. In a leaked phone recording obtained by an independent journalist, his voice was weary, trembling. "You think I wanted this?" he said. "They told me to push the limits. They told me if I didn't, someone else would. I lost everything because I listened." The journalist asked if he feared for his safety. There was a pause before Jordan whispered, "They're watching all of us, not just me." The call ended there. Across the internet, speculation went wild. Who was they? Was he referring to the network's executives or someone higher up? Monica, meanwhile, disappeared from public view after her interview. Her social media accounts vanished overnight, replaced by automated error messages. Fans theorized that VH1 had silenced her, but others believed she went into hiding to prepare something bigger. And then, as if on cue, a new video appeared on the same VH1 Truth Files YouTube channel. It was titled The Uncut Finale. No intro, no context, just raw footage of the final week of filming. The scene opened in a lavish rented mansion, the cast sitting in a circle, eyes red and exhausted. Tiana's voice broke the silence. "Why are we still here?" she asked. A producer replied, "Because the network wants closure." Then, the camera panned to Jordan, sitting off to the side, rubbing his temples. "They won't let me stop," he muttered. "We're past the point of no return." As the footage played, the tension was unbearable. One by one, cast members began confronting production. "You ruined our lives." Renee screamed. "You made us fight for nothing." Another shouted, "You promised to protect us." The camera kept rolling as security tried to intervene. And then, the shocking moment came. A cast member, later identified as Mia Carter, stood up and revealed something that no one expected. She said, "I recorded everything. Every meeting, every bribe, every time they told us to fake pain." She pulled a flash drive from her pocket and tossed it at Jordan's feet. "You don't control the story anymore." The room erupted. Screams, shouts, the camera dropping to the floor as chaos exploded. The screen went black. The internet froze. For the first time, fans were seeing what reality TV truly looked like when the cameras weren't supposed to be on. Comments poured in faster than moderators could handle. "This is abuse. They need to shut down VH1. Where's Mia now?" But no one knew. Within 24 hours, the video vanished, replaced by a copyright strike. The channel was terminated. Still, fragments of the footage lived on, mirrored by thousands of users, saved, archived, shared on hidden forums. By the following week, the story reached mainstream news. Morning talk shows debated whether the entire industry needed reform. Celebrities weighed in, some defending the network, others calling for justice. One former VH1 star tweeted, "We tried to warn y'all years ago. They just didn't care until it leaked." Rumors swirled that class action lawsuits were being prepared by former cast members, who claimed emotional and psychological damage. A lawyer representing them appeared on national television, stating, "What happened behind those cameras was exploitation, plain and simple. We're not after money, we're after accountability." In the background of all this uproar, another leak surfaced. An internal VH1 memo marked confidential. It outlined crisis strategies: discredit Monica Fields, monitor cast members, social media, and locate all remaining footage of Project X. The memo also referenced a secondary copy stored off-site, leading many to believe that the lost season wasn't lost at all. If true, that meant someone still had the master tapes. Fans began to organize online, creating digital search teams to track every person involved in production. One group claimed to have traced the mysterious off-site location to a storage facility in New Jersey. Others believed it was kept in a private vault belonging to a former executive, who quietly resigned months before the scandal broke. Every day brought new theories, new suspects, and new fear. Through it all, Renee and Tiana stayed silent. Their representatives released no statements, no interviews, nothing. Until one night, Renee posted a short video to her Instagram story, just her face in the dark, whispering, "It's not over." It vanished after 10 minutes, but it was enough. Fans knew something was coming, and they were right. 2 days later, a live stream link began circulating through fan communities. No title, no description, just the words "Truth, premiere tonight." Tens of thousands of people tuned in. The screen flickered, and there she was, Tiana, sitting beside Renee. Both looked serious, but calm. "We're not here to entertain," Tiana began. "We're here to tell you what really happened." Renee nodded, adding, "They wanted us to be enemies. They wanted us to destroy each other for views. But we're done being their puppets." What followed was a raw, hour-long confession detailing how producers scripted fights, bribed cast members, and fabricated personal stories. "They told me my boyfriend was cheating just to get a reaction," Renee said. "They even hired someone to pretend to be his side chick." Viewers were stunned. Comments flooded in: tears, anger, disbelief. "This isn't reality," Tiana said near the end. "This is a machine that feeds on pain, and we're shutting it down." But the feed cut abruptly before the stream could end naturally. Screens went black. A message appeared: "This content has been removed for violating copyright law." Once again, VH1's legal team had stepped in. But it was too late. Millions had already seen it, recorded it, shared it. Their story could no longer be buried. Fans demanded full investigations, and networks began canceling upcoming reality projects. Producers across Hollywood went silent, terrified of what else might come out. And in that silence, a single email appeared in journalists' inboxes, signed only with one name: Monica. The message read, "If they thought this was the end, they haven't seen what's still on tape." As the night deepened, Joe's confession began to ripple across the digital space, stirring whispers that refused to die down. Podcasts, clips, and fragments of his words spread like sparks, each one carrying the weight of something unspoken. Viewers argued in comment sections, debating whether Joe was exposing a truth too dark or spinning a story too wild to believe. But within that storm, Joe remained calm, his tone unwavering, his choice of words deliberate. He didn't chase clarity. He let the silence between his sentences do the work. And that silence told people more than words ever could. The story had outgrown the studio. Ed had escaped into the bloodstream of the internet. And somewhere, in that chaos, Erica's name began to trend again. Her photos pulled from archives, her past dug up like evidence. People started connecting dots that might not have been there, but the illusion of connection was enough. They wanted a villain, a victim, and a secret to uncover. Joe's revelation gave them all three. And yet, behind every heated thread and every viral clip, there was something quieter, a sense of dread, that maybe this wasn't about gossip anymore. Maybe it was about control. Joe knew what he was doing. He had seen enough media storms to recognize how narratives mutate when they leave the host's hands. But this time, he didn't intervene. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he wanted the truth to find its own path, even if it tore apart reputations along the way. By morning, mainstream outlets picked it up, reshaping his words into headlines dripping with speculation. Joe Rogan drops shocking bombshell about Erica Kirk. One read. Another said, "Inside the secret meeting that changed everything." But none of them got it right. Because the real story wasn't what Joe said, it was why he said it. He had hinted that something was being covered up. Something that linked Erica's confession to a larger operation. He didn't give names, but the way he paused before saying they left everyone wondering who exactly he meant. They became a ghost, a force lurking behind every decision, every silenced voice. As the online frenzy grew, Charlie's supporters began demanding answers from his circle, while Erica's camp went silent. Silence became its own kind of admission, and in the middle of it all, Joe released another short clip, this time without context. It was just a sentence. "The truth was never meant to reach the parents." Those words hit harder than any headline. Because now, it wasn't about fame or scandal. It was about a family that had been lied to. People started questioning what parents meant in this context. Some said he was referring to Charlie's parents. Others thought it was symbolic, about authority figures who raised the generation now being manipulated. Theories multiplied faster than facts could keep up. But Joe didn't clarify. He let it breathe. That's what made it powerful. By the second day, someone leaked part of an internal memo supposedly connected to the Kirk Foundation, hinting at payments, undisclosed meetings, and missing communications from weeks before the public ever knew something was wrong. The document wasn't verified, but it didn't matter. It gave the internet a spine to hang its theories on. Meanwhile, Erica's last interview resurfaced, one where she spoke about trust being weaponized. Suddenly, her words felt prophetic. It wasn't just a relationship scandal anymore. It was a story about how truth bends under influence. Joe's podcast episode, which had seemed like a spontaneous conversation, began to look more like a strategic release. Some said he had been pressured to talk. Others believed he was sending a warning disguised as entertainment. What made it worse was his refusal to deny any of it. Each time reporters reached out, his only response was, "Watch the episode again." That cryptic stance pushed the public deeper into obsession. They began dissecting tone, background sounds, even pauses in speech, searching for hidden codes. It became a collective investigation, part truth, part hallucination. In one corner of the internet, a group claimed to have found metadata in the leaked audio file pointing to a private communication server, connected to a government LNQ contractor. Another group said it was all staged, a psychological experiment designed to test public reaction to misinformation. Both sides were loud, and both believed they were right. Through it all, Joe stayed silent. He didn't post. He didn't tweet. He didn't explain. But that silence kept his audience listening. And then, without warning, a new clip appeared not from Joe's channel, but from an anonymous account. It showed an unedited version of the interview, one that included a few seconds that had been cut from the public release. In those missing seconds, Erica's voice could be heard saying, "You think they'll let this air?" Followed by Joe replying, "It already has." The clip ended there, but it was enough to reignite everything. People now believed there was a version of the truth that had been buried on purpose. Networks scrambled to verify it, and while no one could confirm the authenticity, the emotional truth hit harder than any proof. Suddenly, Joe's calm demeanor in the original video looked different. It wasn't confidence, it was resignation. He knew it would all come out eventually. The internet had become the new courtroom, and everyone was both the jury and the judge. But behind closed doors, Joe wasn't as composed. Close friends said he had stopped appearing in public, spending hours reviewing old footage, almost as if searching for something he missed. They said he looked tired, older. The cost of revealing too much had started to show, because while the world chased theories, Joe knew that one thing still hadn't been said out loud: the name of the person who told Erica what to say that night. And that was the piece no one was supposed to find. Rumors turned into patterns, and patterns began to form a map that led back to the night Erica Kirk vanished from the public eye. It wasn't sudden, but gradual, like watching someone dim a light in slow motion. One day she was answering questions, the next she had deleted her accounts. And within a week, every interview request was being declined by a firm no one had heard of before. The company called itself Northlight Communications, but when journalists tried to reach them, the number rang into static. Joe Rogan's audience noticed the shift immediately. Clips of her old interviews began resurfacing under titles like "The Message Erica Left Behind" and "Joe Wasn't Lying." But what kept people hooked wasn't just her disappearance, it was what Joe said afterward. In his next episode, he didn't mention her name once, but every topic circled the same theme: truth that gets buried, conversations that never reach the light, and people who vanish when they stop playing their assigned roles. His tone was somber, detached, but the undertone was unmistakable. He was warning someone. Listeners began to wonder if Joe was still in control of his own show. Subtle changes appeared: the background lighting dimmer than usual, fewer sound effects, longer silences. One regular guest was abruptly cut off mid-sentence when he mentioned what they told Erica to hide. The audio glitched, and when the feed resumed, Joe simply said, "Next topic." For those paying attention, that glitch became symbolic. It wasn't just a technical fault, it was a sign of something being filtered. A week later, a private investigator who had been digging into the Kirk Foundation claimed to have found inconsistencies in their charity records. Large sums of money had been moved to unlisted entities during the same week Erica gave her last public statement. None of it could be traced beyond a name: Project Echo. The name sounded innocuous, but when paired with Joe's earlier cryptic statements, it began to look ominous. He had once said during a live stream, "The echo doesn't create the voice, it amplifies what's already buried." People now thought he was referring to that project. The online community split into factions. One side insisted Joe was exposing a system designed to manipulate narratives. The other claimed he was being used as part of a larger deception, distracting the public from something else. Both sides agreed on one thing: something about Charlie Kirk's death and Erica's reaction to it didn't align. Leaked emails began circulating on underground forums, showing correspondences between Northlight Communications and several podcast producers. The tone was clinical, almost mechanical. requesting containment of secondary narratives and redirecting of sentiment through managed influencers. It read like a manual for controlling public thought. If true, it confirmed Joe's unspoken claim that the entire scandal had been curated long before anyone realized it existed. Journalists reached out to him for comment, but he didn't respond. The only acknowledgement came in the form of a short clip posted on his official account, a single sentence against a black screen. Some stories were written before they happened. That one line reignited every conspiracy. Suddenly, people were rewatching his earlier episodes, convinced they held hidden codes. Timestamps were compared, background noises analyzed. One clip caught attention, a faint ticking sound heard just before Joe mentioned Erica's final message. It wasn't part of the studio's setup, yet it recurred 3 times in different segments. Audio experts claimed it matched the mechanical rhythm of an old data recorder, the kind used in surveillance work. Others thought it was metaphorical, a sound effect added to create tension. But the longer Joe stayed silent, the more people leaned toward the darker explanation. And then, a new element entered the chaos. A message appeared on a dark web board known for whistleblower leaks. It was brief. She didn't disappear. She was reprogrammed. No one could trace who posted it, but within hours, screenshots flooded social media. Podcasts dissected it frame by frame, linking the phrasing to terms found in declassified behavioral documents. The theory shifted again. Maybe Erica hadn't been silenced, maybe she had been remade. That's when things began to spiral. Anonymous accounts started uploading short videos of a woman who looked like Erica, spotted in airports, hotels, and security footage. Each clip was blurry, each sighting uncertain, but the resemblance was enough. Joe Rogan's name stayed in every trending tag, yet he still said nothing. Weeks passed, and finally he returned to his show. His first words were measured. Truth isn't what's hidden, it's what's left when everything else gets erased. The way he said erased made it sound personal. His guest that day didn't speak for nearly a minute, and when he did, his voice shook slightly. "Are you sure you want to talk about this on air?" Joe leaned back, eyes steady, and replied, "It's already out there." The episode ended abruptly after 20 minutes and was never re-uploaded. Clips vanished from official pages, and only fan archives kept fragments alive. One particular fragment showed Joe staring into the camera, almost expressionless, before saying, "She didn't tell them everything. That's why they panicked." From that moment, it wasn't a theory anymore. It was a warning. The energy around the story shifted from curiosity to fear. Prominent voices began backing away, deleting posts, and issuing vague apologies for misrepresentation. People noticed that anyone too vocal about the topic started losing online visibility. Search results changed overnight. Even mentioning Erica's name triggered content filters. But Joe didn't stop recording. His next few episodes carried a strange calm, as if he had accepted something inevitable. He spoke less about the scandal and more about systems that rewrite memory, institutions that shape what people believe. Every line was layered. He didn't need to say her name anymore. The audience already understood. By then, the idea of truth had become unstable. It wasn't about who was right or wrong, it was about who was still allowed to speak. Joe had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and he knew it. What started as a confession had turned into a movement. One built on fragments of information that no one could fully verify, yet everyone felt in their bones. And somewhere behind it all, the ghost of Erica Kirk was still whispering. Her silence louder than any broadcast he had ever made. The silence didn't last. It never does. Within days, the networks began cleaning up, wiping any trace of the episode from their archives, as if it had never happened. But fans are relentless. They found ways. An old intern from the production team uploaded a low-quality recording to a private server. It wasn't the full show, just 12 minutes, but those 12 minutes were enough to ignite chaos again. In the clip, Joe sat alone. No guest, no sponsor break, no laughter. He leaned toward the mic and said, "What they call reality TV is the clean version. The real one's never supposed to air." His voice cracked slightly on the last word, and then he looked off camera, as if waiting for confirmation. Someone whispered something faint, and Joe nodded. "Run it." The feed flickered, showing brief flashes of what looked like behind-the-scenes footage in marked doors, dim corridors, cast members arguing offset, and producers shouting directions that contradicted what was being filmed. A woman screamed cut in the background, but the argument kept going. Someone yelled, "They're still rolling," and the footage froze. When the image returned to Joe, he looked pale, like he'd seen too much. "They made you believe the fights were staged," he said. "They weren't. Not all of them." The clip ended there. Fans who watched the leak described feeling sick, not because of what they saw, but because of what wasn't shown. The gaps told their own story. Someone had edited something out, but they hadn't done it cleanly. Faint outlines of blurred figures were visible behind the static, moving in a way that didn't match the scene. Internet detectives zoomed in, frame by frame, claiming they saw faces of cast members who had never been listed in the credits. One even matched the outline to a woman known only as Sasha, a background assistant who supposedly went missing in the middle of production that year. When journalists tried to investigate, they hit a wall. VH1 released a vague statement calling the rumors digital fabrications, but the timing made it worse. The day after the denial, a man claiming to be part of the show's legal team contacted a podcaster known for exposing industry secrets. He said, "They kept filming after the shutdown. We weren't supposed to know, but they did." His voice was steady, rehearsed, like someone reading a confession already approved by lawyers. It wasn't just reality TV anymore. It was experimentation. From there, everything unraveled. Internal memos leaked, revealing instructions from higher-ups, demanding maximum emotional escalation in each episode. Producers had been offering incentives to cast members to provoke breakdowns, some reportedly being paid bonuses for real tears or fights that turned physical. The memo even mentioned psyche dislocation, a term fans had never seen before. Psychologists online tried to interpret it, suggesting it referred to pushing participants beyond normal emotional endurance for more dramatic footage. The term began trending. People started asking about the mental health of those involved, especially Erica, who had reportedly filmed during that same timeline. One anonymous source described a specific scene cut from the unaired season, a confrontation between Erica and another cast member that spiraled into something so personal, it didn't look like acting. The insider said, "They stopped being characters. They became data." That one line spread like fire. Data became a symbol for the industry's dehumanization. Viewers began demanding accountability, not realizing that every click, every replay, was feeding the same system they were condemning. Then, another leak dropped, this one from a hard drive, allegedly recovered from a VH1 editing suite, auctioned months earlier. The folder was labeled archive_beta_17. Inside were sound files, test recordings, and something labeled Session EK. It opened to 20 minutes of raw audio. Erica's voice was unmistakable. She wasn't performing. She was crying. "They told me it would just be for practice," she said between gasps. "They said it wouldn't air, but they were still recording. They never stopped." Someone in the background said, "Keep her talking," and she screamed, "Stop it," before the audio cut abruptly. The authenticity couldn't be verified, but fans didn't need proof, they felt it. Hashtags exploded. Protest groups formed. VH1's social pages were flooded with angry comments. Within a week, sponsors began quietly pulling out. The network went into damage control, releasing statements denying any exploitation and promising transparency. But instead of calming people, it fueled suspicion. The word transparency had become meaningless. While the chaos raged online, Joe appeared again, but not in his studio. This time, it was a handheld recording, uploaded from an unverified account that fans immediately linked to him. He looked exhausted, unshaven, wearing a hoodie. "They're going to say I made this up," he began, eyes fixed on the camera. "But you can't fake what I've seen. The tapes exist. The people in them exist. And they're not actors anymore." He paused, took a breath, and added, "They called it a show. It was a system test." The word system test echoed across platforms. People debated their meaning. Some thought it was metaphorical, a reference to emotional manipulation. Others believed he was implying something darker, that the production had been a psychological experiment, disguised as entertainment. One thread claimed that certain cast members were selected based on compatibility profiles, similar to those used in behavioral research. That theory gained traction after an anonymous email from a supposed production assistant surfaced, saying, "The casting wasn't random. It was calculated. They wanted predictable chaos." Meanwhile, strange things started happening to the people involved. One former contestant who had spoken out suddenly retracted her statements, claiming she misremembered events. Another posted a cryptic message, "They fixed the footage. Now I don't even recognize myself in it." Fans began speculating about deepfake manipulation, suggesting that scenes had been altered after filming to reshape public perception. Experts confirmed it was technically possible, but without access to the originals, no one could prove anything. What broke the internet next was a live stream from a fan who claimed to have found a discarded hard drive at a Los Angeles thrift store. On it, they said, was a folder titled VH1_recycle. When they opened it, hundreds of short clips appeared, alternate takes of familiar scenes, but slightly off. In one, a character smiled during a fight that originally ended in tears. In another, a slap missed but still produced a sound effect. It's like they recorded multiple timelines, the fans said on stream. His voice trembled as he scrolled through the files. It's not reality anymore, it's simulation. By now, Joe's name was trending again. Every show, every article, every conspiracy looped back to him. People began to see him not as a whistleblower, but as a man who had become part of the machine he tried to expose. Was he playing both sides? Was his silence after each leak a sign of guilt or fear? One thing was certain. The deeper the public dug, the darker the story became. And somewhere, hidden behind encrypted servers and shredded contracts, the unaired season still existed, unseen, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to release it in full. Then it happened the night the footage finally dropped. No one knows who leaked it first. Some say it came from a former VH1 editor who fled the country. Others swear it was a hacker collective calling themselves Raw Feed. Either way, the file appeared on 3 obscure streaming links at once. Within hours, it spread everywhere: mirrors, torrents, backdoor sites. People who managed to watch it early described it as too real to be scripted and too dark to be entertainment. The leak wasn't edited or polished. It was chaos in raw form. Camera mics caught breath, panic, and arguments that felt less like television and more like surveillance. There was no background music, no clever cuts, just tension so thick it made the silence feel alive. The footage opened with a production slate that read VH1 Season 8 Confidential, Do Not Distribute. The timestamp was from 2 years ago. The first scene showed the cast mid-rehearsal, but they weren't acting. They were arguing with someone off-screen. A voice shouted, "You said we'd get approval before you aired this." Another screamed, "We didn't sign up for this part." The camera shook violently as someone tried to block the lens. Fans later identified one of the voices as Monica Fields, the mysterious replacement cast member whose name appeared in leaked call sheets months ago. Then came the scene that silenced the internet. Erica Kirk appeared, pacing in a hallway, her makeup smudged, clearly unaware she was being filmed. She muttered, "They said it wasn't real, but it is. They're watching us even when we're done." She pressed her hands to her face, shaking her head, whispering something inaudible. In the background, 2 crew members argued about whether to stop recording. One said, "She's breaking," and the other replied coldly, "Good, that's the point." That line would later become one of the most quoted moments in online history. Viewers watched in horror as the footage spiraled. Staged fights turned into real altercations. One cast member smashed a prop glass against a wall and stormed off. A producer shouted, "Keep rolling," and the camera followed, capturing him in the parking lot, crying, saying, "They told us to keep it going even if someone got hurt." Fans debated whether it was genuine breakdown or method acting, but the raw emotion was undeniable. About 20 minutes into the leak, the tone shifted completely. The lighting dimmed, and the screen flickered to black before switching to what looked like security footage. The cast was seated in a dark room, each hooked to small monitors showing playback of earlier scenes. Someone off camera instructed them to describe what they remember. Confusion filled their faces. One woman whispered, "That's not what happened," while another said, "Why do I look different?" The camera panned briefly toward a window, revealing a reflection: men in suits, watching from behind one-way glass. The next 10 minutes were pure psychological collapse. The cast began turning on each other, accusing, shouting, breaking down. The same voice from earlier, cold, clinical, kept giving instructions. Respond honestly. Say what you felt. Do not look at the camera. One man broke the rule and stared directly into the lens. For a split second, he whispered, "Help us." Then the feed cut out. When the footage resumed, it was morning. The set was empty, lights still on, mics still recording. Scattered papers covered the floor: scripts, release forms, and a whiteboard with a phrase scribbled across it: "Reality is a control test." No one knew what it meant, but it became the defining slogan of the scandal. People began printing it on shirts, graffitiing it on walls, turning it into a movement. VH1 immediately released a statement claiming the footage was a digitally altered forgery. But the denial fell flat when fans discovered that certain background details, the furniture, the camera angles, the identifiable crew members, matched previous official behind-the-scenes photos. One user even found a split-second frame where a date marker aligned perfectly with an earlier promotional trailer. The footage was authentic, at least in part. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan resurfaced again, this time not in his studio but at a podcasting convention in a brief, unscheduled appearance. He didn't talk about the leak directly, but his words carried a heavy subtext. When people start realizing their entertainment is feeding something bigger, it's already too late, he said to a silent audience. You can't unsee what's been edited into your reality. A hush fell over the room. Even the event's organizers looked uneasy. After the leak, several former VH1 staff members started coming forward anonymously. One claimed they had been forced to sign new NDAs after witnessing behavioral monitoring on set. Another said, "We had to track responses, like how much stress they could handle before breaking." They wanted data, not drama. The phrase behavioral monitoring soon became the next viral obsession. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and news sites all jumped in, trying to decode what VH1's producers had really been doing behind the scenes. Within days, more footage appeared, this time fragments from what seemed to be internal review sessions. Producers sat in a small room, watching clips of cast breakdowns, discussing which moments tested best. One producer laughed, saying, "If they think it's fake, we're good." Another asked, "What about the ethics?" And the response was simple: "Ethics don't trend." That one sentence sent chills through millions of viewers. The fallout was immediate. VH1's social accounts went into lockdown mode, turning off comments. Several executives were reported to have resigned, though none publicly admitted involvement. Media outlets started calling it the lost season, but fans gave it a different name, the Erased series. The term caught on because so much of it had vanished before anyone could verify the truth. Posts disappeared, channels were flagged, and every re-upload of the leak was taken down within minutes. But that only made people hungrier. A few nights later, Joe uploaded a cryptic message again. They erased the wrong file. Within an hour, it was deleted, but fans had already saved it. His followers speculated that he had more evidence, perhaps the full version of the Unreleased season, uncut and unedited. Rumors claimed he had received the original tapes directly from a whistleblower. Others thought he was bluffing to stay relevant, but then one detail changed everything. In the background of his deleted video, viewers noticed a blurred stack of film reels marked VH1_unseen_master. It was only visible for half a second, but it confirmed everyone's worst suspicion. Joe had the footage. The internet lost control. Hashtags exploded across platforms. Petitions were started demanding the release of the unseen season. Fans swore they deserved the truth, but not everyone agreed. Some said watching it would only feed the machine, that maybe VH1 hadn't hidden the footage out of guilt, but out of fear of what it could do if released. And that's when things took their darkest turn. A new account surfaced on a private video forum, posting a message that read, "Episode 1, Friday midnight, no going back." The username was simply ube, ache, uno, echo. The same word that had appeared in those early leaked emails. Project Echo had returned. And for the first time, people realized this was only the beginning. By now, the scandal had crossed borders and continents. European tabloids, Australian talk shows, and South American gossip pages were covering it with feverish intensity. Joe Rogan's name was trending globally, not for his podcast, but for what he had supposedly uncovered. And yet, amid the noise, something curious was happening. Small pieces of verifiable evidence began trickling out: emails, time-stamped photos, financial records, all pointing to a quiet alliance between certain political donors and media executives. The kind of alliance that could easily fund a cover-up or destroy someone's credibility overnight. These leaks didn't come from Joe, Candace, or Charlie's side. They came from an anonymous whistleblower calling themselves the Widow's Echo. Nobody knew who they were, but every post under that name carried chilling accuracy. Candace, who had stayed relatively calm through most of the storm, looked shaken for the first time when she addressed her followers about it. She admitted she didn't know who the Widow's Echo was, but claimed the information they were releasing aligned with what she had suspected from the beginning: that Erica Kirk was never meant to become a public figure. She was a casualty of a system trying to control narratives through fear, funding, and media manipulation. Joe Rogan echoed a similar sentiment on his next show, saying, "This stopped being about a podcast beef or a gossip headline. It's about who gets to tell the truth when the truth is inconvenient." As weeks passed, Erica vanished again. Her social media went dark, her foundation's website shut down, and her name disappeared from active corporate filings. But silence doesn't always mean safety, often means someone's been made quiet. Rumors spread that she had entered a witness protection type deal after testifying privately before a closed Senate committee, one that was supposedly looking into the manipulation of political commentary platforms. The irony wasn't lost on anyone that both Joe and Candace, voices of defiance against state control, had somehow triggered an inquiry that could reshape digital media oversight. Still, many viewers weren't ready to believe the official narrative. Underground podcasts, Reddit threads, and encrypted group chats became the new battleground for speculation. People dissected every clip, every look, every pause in Joe's or Candace's speech. The widow's echo continued posting, hinting that an explosive finale was still to come. One cryptic message read, "The confession you heard was not the real one. The truth is still buried under a signed NDA and a dead man's fear." Theories multiplied. Was the entire saga staged? Was Joe part of a bigger media experiment meant to gauge public reaction? Or had he truly stumbled upon something monstrous, something that reached far beyond Erica Kirk, far beyond Charlie, and even beyond himself? The question no one wanted to say aloud lingered in the air like a bruise. What if the confession wasn't Joe's at all, but someone else's, re-edited and repurposed to hide the real crime? The final phase began quietly, almost too quietly, as though the internet itself had taken a collective breath. The widow's echo went silent after their last message, leaving everyone grasping at half-truths. Joe Rogan, meanwhile, stopped mentioning the topic altogether. No comments, no clarifications, not even a passing remark. The silence felt orchestrated, unnatural, like someone had drawn a line and dared him to cross it again. Fans who once flooded his comment sections with praise began asking the same question. What scared him into stopping? Candace Owens, though, refused to let it die. She appeared on an independent media roundtable and said something that would reignite everything. When people disappear after speaking truth, she said slowly, it's not coincidence, it's consequence. Her words spread fast. Within hours, the clip hit 1 million views. The hosts tried to move on, but Candace leaned forward and added, Joe didn't retract because he was wrong. He retracted because someone showed him what happens when you keep talking. The room went silent. Shortly after, screenshots surfaced of internal emails from one of the major streaming platforms that distributed Joe's show. They suggested that executives had been contacted by unnamed government representatives and warned about the national security implications of certain podcast material. The phrasing alone was enough to ignite conspiracy forums across the web. Yet again, the line between entertainment, journalism, and blackmail blurred. Days later, a new video appeared on a low-traffic site hosted overseas. Its title was simple, The Real Confession. It showed Joe, seated in a dim studio, speaking in a tone different from his usual. Calm, deliberate, heavy. He talked about seeing documents and hearing things that made him sick. He said, it's not about who died, it's about who was protected after the fact. The video was deleted within 20 minutes, but not before thousands downloaded it. Analysts debated its authenticity. Some said it was deep, others swore it was genuine, pointing out the reflection of studio lights that matched Joe's real setup. Candace posted only one word in response, told you, but that post, too, vanished. Then came the strangest twist of all. Every mention of the widow's echo, every cached file, every mirror link, disappeared from search engines overnight. It wasn't a glitch. It was precision deletion. People began saying the story had entered its dead zone. That liminal space where reality and fabrication fuse until you can't tell which is protecting whom. And so, the case of Erica Kirk, the confessions, the government hints, the digital ghosts, they all faded into static. Joe never brought it up again. Candace shifted to new topics. The audience moved on, though uneasily. Sometimes, during live episodes, Joe would pause for a second too long when someone mentioned legacy media or controlled narratives. It was the kind of pause that said, I know more than I can say, but he would laugh it off, change the subject, and move forward. Still, the legend of the widow's echo persisted in the darker corners of the internet. In those spaces, people claimed the final message had been decoded, revealing a single phrase hidden in its metadata. The truth isn't missing, it's archived. And maybe that's what unsettled everyone the most, not that Joe Rogan had confessed, but that somewhere, the real story still existed, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to uncover it again. As weeks turned into months, the internet's obsession with the leaked season began to twist into something unrecognizable. The fan accounts that once posted behind-the-scenes photos and speculated about producers' secrets were now dissecting coded language, timestamps, and subliminal messages hidden in the show's trailer. Every frame became a battlefield of theories. One fan claimed to have found a split-second audio clip in episode 9, a woman's voice whispering, "They know." Another swore the reflection in a car window during a reunion scene showed something that wasn't supposed to be there. It didn't matter whether any of it was real. The hysteria had its own gravity. VH1 executives tried to calm the storm. An anonymous source within the network leaked an internal memo titled Containment Strategy. It outlined a plan to redirect public focus through influencer partnerships, new teaser releases, and controlled narratives about creative reinterpretation. But the memo also included one chilling line: avoid comment on scene 12 until instructed. That single phrase sent fans spiraling again. What was in scene 12, and why was it the only one singled out? Then, an insider who identified themselves online only as Room 14 posted a 45-second clip claiming to be the unedited version of that scene. In it, the cast appeared agitated, not acting. One producer could be heard, off-camera yelling, "We're live, keep it going," while a female cast member screamed, "You said you'd never use that footage." The clip ended abruptly, cutting to static. Within hours, Room 14's account disappeared, their videos wiped clean. People who tried to share the clip found their posts taken down under copyright enforcement. But the more the network tried to suppress it, the more unstoppable it became. Former crew members began to speak anonymously, confirming that season never aired because things went too far. One described the environment as emotional warfare, another as the most chaotic shoot in VH1 history. They said cast members were intentionally provoked, private family details were leaked to the press, and at least 2 people had mental breakdowns during filming. The cameras were never off, one said. Even when we begged for privacy, they said the pain was good TV. And yet, through all of it, one name kept reappearing: Maya Henderson, a mid-level producer who vanished halfway through post-production. Her social media accounts were frozen, her emails bounced back, and no one at the studio would confirm whether she was still employed. Rumor had it she was the one who leaked the footage, that she'd gone rogue after refusing to edit certain scenes. One coworker described her last day on set as terrifying. She walked into the editing bay, slammed her badge on the table, and said, "If you air this, you'll regret it." No one saw her again after that. A month later, a zip file appeared on a dark web forum labeled VH1 Truthscene Final. Zip, the uploader's name. MH. Inside were 15 folders of raw, uncut footage. What shocked everyone most wasn't the chaos or the fights, it was the confessionals. In them, cast members broke character, crying, begging producers to stop twisting their words. One even said, "They made me call my mom just to make her cry on camera." The network scrambled to issue takedowns, but by then, it was too late. Mirrors spread like wildfire, fans dissecting every moment frame by frame. Still, there was something else buried deep within that footage: files with random numbers as titles. No timestamps, just cryptic text overlays reading things like "Take 22 keep quiet" or "Episode killshot." Analysts and fans couldn't make sense of it. Then, one tech-savvy viewer found a single hidden message encoded in the audio frequencies of one file. When enhanced, it revealed a woman's trembling voice saying, "They buried it. They buried everything." By that point, mainstream outlets had no choice but to cover the story. Official spokespeople denied everything, calling it a coordinated smear campaign by disgruntled employees. But the damage was irreversible. The show that had once been marketed as a revolutionary emotional experiment was now seen as something closer to psychological warfare. One tabloid headline summed it up: VH1 didn't just hide a season, they hid people's trauma. And somewhere, in a dim apartment rumored to belong to Maya Henderson, a single light flickered through a curtain. Neighbors said they heard typing late into the night, the sound of someone finishing a story that the world was never meant to hear. The typing stopped the night the VH1 servers went offline for what the company described as scheduled maintenance. It lasted 11 hours, during which thousands of users noticed something strange: entire seasons of past shows temporarily vanished, as though someone was scrubbing archives. When the platform came back up, the leaked scenes were gone from every fan-uploaded account. Even older content that contained cast references to the lost season had been clipped or muted. Still, nothing ever truly disappears from the internet. Copies resurfaced through encrypted links, torrents with names like Truth Season Unked and VH1 Final Archive. Each had fragments of footage no one had seen before, producers arguing, tears, off-camera, and shots of scripts with handwritten red ink notes: "Amplify tension. Insert betrayal arc. No resolution needed." Viewers began comparing the leaked clips with aired footage. Timelines didn't match. Faces looked different: tired, hollow, real. One moment showed a cast member, Jasmine, screaming at her on-screen partner, but in the raw tape, she wasn't acting. Between sobs, she yelled, "You said you'd blur that. You promised." Her words echoed through fan compilations, creating the viral hashtag #TheyPromised. Soon, tabloids jumped back in. Insiders fed them claims that network executives had ordered emotional provocation to heighten drama, paying staff bonuses for escalating cast arguments. It wasn't long before a former assistant producer gave a full anonymous interview to a streaming news outlet. "There was a whiteboard in the control room labeled manipulation map," she said. "It tracked who hated who could be pushed, and how far. Every meltdown was timed. Every apology was scripted." Audiences who once loved the chaos of reality TV began to feel complicit. Fan pages turned into advocacy groups demanding justice for the cast. Lawyers began investigating workplace abuse and emotional exploitation in unscripted programming. VH1 issued a carefully worded apology video featuring executives reading from teleprompters about misunderstandings during production. But while their words were calm, their eyes weren't. They looked terrified. Meanwhile, an independent documentarian named Theo Banks announced he'd been collecting testimony from crew members. He claimed to have interviewed Maya Henderson weeks before she vanished. Theo said she showed him proof that not only had producers covered up cast injuries, but also faked entire relationship arcs for ratings. "There were love triangles that never existed," he said. "They digitally merged footage to make people appear together who weren't even in the same city." The network's lawyers immediately sent cease and desist letters, but Theo didn't stop. He uploaded an audio clip of Maya's voice saying, "They told me to delete the originals, so I buried copies where they can't reach." The internet's obsession turned into a manhunt. Forums tracked Maya's last known address, and some users claimed to have spotted her car abandoned near a storage facility outside Atlanta. Inside one locker, local police reportedly found hard drives labeled VH1 Season X, Raw Truth. Within 24 hours, federal authorities seized them, citing proprietary intellectual property. No one ever confirmed what was on those drives, but one officer allegedly told a reporter, "If what I saw on that screen is real, this isn't about TV anymore." The scandal grew until sponsors began pulling out, shows were suspended, and executives started resigning under vague personal reasons. Fans flooded social media with screenshots, claiming producers had tried to silence certain cast members through non-disclosure agreements and hush money. One anonymous cast member posted a final story before deleting her account, a black screen with white text that read, "We signed contracts, not life sentences." And in a strange twist of irony, all of it the manipulation, the silence, the vanishing producer. The missing footage made the Unreleased season more famous than anything VH1 had ever aired. Every rumor became part of the myth. People said Maya's hidden copies still existed, that she encoded them under fake file names inside the streaming platform itself. Others swore the footage was live somewhere, looping endlessly on a private channel titled Season 0. No one could prove it, but one thing was certain: the network's image would never recover. Reality TV had finally shown its truest face, and it wasn't scripted. It was haunted. The silence that followed was deceptive. VH1's public relations team flooded the media with polished statements, celebrity endorsements, and cheerful clips of unrelated shows, trying to bury the chaos beneath bright graphics and pop music. But the internet didn't forget. If anything, the cover-up attempts made the obsession worse. Every smiling promo post was flooded with comments demanding answers. Where's Maya? What happened to Scene 12? What did Jasmine mean by they promised? The hashtags multiplied faster than the network could delete them. Journalists who tried to investigate found their stories mysteriously unpublished or replaced by sponsored content. Some claimed their editors had been contacted by unnamed legal representatives warning them to stay away from the subject. The public's curiosity turned into defiance. Reddit threads, TikTok edits, and encrypted group chats formed a global digital resistance. Fans started calling themselves the unedited. They shared evidence, decoded leaks, and archived every deleted post. One coder in London even created a searchable database of all missing VH1 seasons, every second of unreleased footage reassembled from mirror files. The database grew daily, maintained by volunteers working anonymously through VPN chains. It wasn't about fandom anymore. It was about exposure. Then, out of nowhere, Theo Banks reappeared online after weeks of silence. His YouTube channel, dormant since the takedown of his first documentary teaser, uploaded a new 10-minute video titled "The Truth Inside the Cut." His voice trembled as he spoke. "This isn't just reality TV," he said. "This is emotional engineering, and I can prove it." He played clips showing editors using AI software to alter facial expressions, splice reactions, and manufacture drama where none existed. One scene in particular shook viewers: Jasmine laughing off a joke during filming. which was later recut to look like she was mocking another cast member's breakdown. Theo said the network had entire teams dedicated to manipulating tone, building false villains out of real people. The video hit 10 million views in under a day before being removed for copyright reasons. Theo went missing again, but this time, people noticed. Reporters camped outside his apartment. His neighbors claimed he'd left abruptly with a single duffel bag the night before the video dropped. One said they heard him arguing on the phone, shouting, "I already sent the backups." The story spiraled further when one of the show's junior editors came forward under the alias Nora. She posted a series of encrypted voice notes through a burner account. Her voice was shaky but urgent. "There's something worse than the manipulation," she said. "Something they filmed that no one was supposed to see." She explained that during the final weeks of shooting, producers had forced the cast into isolation, cutting them off from families and outside communication under the guise of building tension. "What they captured," Nora said, "wasn't entertainment, it was psychological collapse." She claimed the footage showed cast members crying for help, begging to go home, while producers laughed in the control room. VH1 denied her claims immediately, but Nora released one clip as proof. It was grainy, only a few seconds long, showing a cast member sitting alone in a dark room whispering, "They told me to smile or they'd cut my check." That single line spread across every platform like wildfire. Fans flooded the network's pages with the phrase "smile or they'll cut your check." It became a symbol of silent suffering masked as show business. In the weeks that followed, pressure mounted from every direction. Human rights organizations called for industry-wide reform. Lawsuits began piling up, citing emotional abuse, privacy violations, and defamation. But the network fought back hard, releasing statement after statement calling the allegations baseless fabrications designed to defame our brand. Yet even as they spoke, another video surfaced, this one allegedly filmed in a production office. It showed a meeting where executives discussed damage control strategies, joking about how the drama sells itself. The authenticity was debated, but by now, the truth hardly mattered. The narrative had taken on a life of its own. Behind closed doors, panic spread through VH1 headquarters. Leaked text messages revealed producers threatening to expose internal corruption if they weren't protected. One particularly damning thread showed an executive writing, "We can't let Maya resurface. She knows about the contracts." What contracts? No one outside the inner circle knew. But one theory dominated. The cast had been made to sign additional agreements mid-season, documents that allowed producers to override their consent in editing. One insider said the clause was called full creative possession. Then, at 3:12 a.m. one Saturday, a mysterious livestream appeared on an unknown website. Its title read simply, "For Maya." It showed hours of behind-the-scenes footage, camera operators arguing, crew crying, and most haunting of all, a blurred figure believed to be Maya Henderson walking through an editing suite, saying, "They'll erase me, but not the truth." The video disappeared minutes later, but tens of thousands witnessed it live. Several viewers claimed to see a timestamp indicating the footage was captured after Maya's reported disappearance. The world went into meltdown. Every platform buzzed with new theories, some claiming Maya faked her death to expose the system, others insisting she was being silenced by those she'd betrayed. Mainstream outlets could no longer ignore the story. One investigative reporter managed to get hold of internal court filings, proving that VH1 had quietly settled multiple claims from former employees, paying out millions under non-disclosure agreements. The documents referenced a classified incident during production, redacted in every visible line but one, footage withheld due to ethical violation. And then came the moment that broke everything. A full-length cut of the unreleased season, what fans now called The Forbidden. Edit leaked to a torrent site under the username Echo14. It was raw, disturbing, and mesmerizing. Every scene pulsed with tension to reel for scripted drama. Arguments turned violent, laughter cracked into sobs. And the ending. The ending showed the cast confronting a producer live on set, accusing him of creating trauma for entertainment. His voice, calm but chilling, replied, "You signed up for it." Then the screen faded to black. Millions watched in disbelief. Outrage erupted globally. News anchors wept on live TV. Actors, singers, and public figures condemned VH1, calling it the fall of manufactured fame. But in the chaos, no one noticed the subtle detail tucked into the final seconds of the video, the producer's badge. It read Executive Editor M. Henderson. The revelation shattered everything fans thought they knew. Had Maya been complicit before turning whistleblower? Had she created the chaos she later tried to expose? Or had someone forged her identity to frame her? Theories divided the public. Some painted her as a hero trapped by her conscience. Others saw her as a mastermind who lost control of her own experiment. Either way, she became myth half villain, half martyr. And somewhere deep in the heart of New York, inside the shuttered VH1 office building, lights flickered once more. A janitor later told a reporter he'd heard a faint sound coming from the editing room. The same room where the lost season was cut. It was a woman's voice, he said. She was laughing. Not happy laughter, tired laughter. The kind you make when you've seen too much. And just like that, the saga of the unreleased season became legend. Producers hid, lawyers thrived, and fans refused to let it die. People still say if you listen closely during reruns of old VH1 shows, you can catch a whisper in the background, soft, haunting, defiancing. They promised. The digital wildfire kept spreading. After the torrent of the forbidden edit hit the internet, fans dissected every frame with obsessive attention. Forums dedicated to the unreleased season multiplied, creating an ecosystem where each viewer became a detective, piecing together hidden details, timestamps, and background cues. One persistent theory focused on a mysterious symbol, a small black triangle etched onto a wall in multiple scenes. Users argued it was either a marker used by production to signal high-tension footage, or a secret code pointing to something much darker. Some swore they saw it flash briefly on cameras during confessional segments, seemingly unintentional, almost like a warning. Meanwhile, the public obsession wasn't limited to online sleuthing. Celebrity gossip outlets began reporting sightings of cast members and production staff in strange contexts. A paparazzo in Atlanta captured images of a figure matching Maya Henderson's description entering a nondescript building late at night. Security footage leaked shortly after, showing her moving through corridors with purpose, carrying a duffel bag. A single frame of her reflection revealed a flash of panic, or was it calculation? Social media exploded with speculation. Fans argued fiercely whether she was escaping, hiding, or orchestrating the next revelation. The leak triggered a wave of imitators. Independent creators began releasing reenactments of the lost season, combining clips from old episodes, fan edits, and deepfake technology to simulate the chaos that had enthralled millions. These recreations blurred the line between reality and fabrication even further. Hashtags like #UnseenVH1 and #LostSeason recreated trended globally, forcing VH1 into damage control mode. Once again, executives held emergency meetings, discussing not only PR strategy but the potential for legal consequences. One internal memo leaked, revealing a line that sent chills across the industry. If the myth overtakes the show, we lose control of the narrative forever. Amid the chaos, former cast members began speaking anonymously, dropping hints about personal consequences behind the scenes. One actor, under the pseudonym Lena, posted a message that went viral. "We weren't acting. Every tear, every scream, real fear. They fed off it like sharks. If anyone asks, tell them we were fine. We signed contracts. Yes, but they didn't tell us the clauses meant soul extraction." The cryptic nature of her post prompted massive speculation. Commentators argued whether she referred to psychological manipulation, coerced public statements, or something more sinister. As the weeks rolled on, new leaks emerged. Digital sleuths discovered fragments of internal chats between producers discussing viewer engagement metrics versus ethical risk. In one conversation, a producer wrote, "We can push boundaries, but not too far. Audience panic is profitable, but litigation is fatal." Another replied, "If anyone asks, deny everything. The footage is experimental, not harmful." Fans dissected every word, framing VH1 as a company balancing on the edge of moral collapse for ratings. Meanwhile, the supposed widow's echo remained an enigma. Despite months of activity, their account went dormant again. A final post appeared one night, cryptically stating, "Everything you've seen is rehearsal. The true season sleeps in the shadows." The timing of the message, 3:33 a.m., sparked numerological theories among fans, with some insisting it symbolized hidden truths and others claiming it was a countdown to a final reveal. Forums lit up with debates. Where was the real footage? Had it been hidden on private servers, or destroyed entirely? The obsession reached new heights when an investigative journalist uncovered a shipment of hard drives marked VH1 Classified Season 8 at a warehouse in Los Angeles. Security guards denied access, claiming corporate orders. The journalist, refusing to relent, managed to obtain photos of the crates' labels, seals, barcodes intact. Insiders leaked that the drives contained not just the unreleased season but raw, unedited hours of footage of cast meetings, private conversations, and production planning sessions. The metadata suggested these were untouched files from pre-production to post. Fans speculated endlessly what had been erased and what could finally be revealed. Amid the mounting frenzy, VH1 quietly attempted to launch a spin-off series, marketing it as a celebration of our greatest moments, but audiences rejected it. Every scene, every scripted fight was compared to the leaked material. Online communities mocked the sanitized spin-off, arguing that nothing could compete with the raw, emotional chaos that had been captured. The unreleased season had become a benchmark standard for real reality television, however dangerous or unethical. Then came the revelation that would ignite global discourse. A hacker group claiming ties to the Widow's Echo released a massive zip file of encrypted documents. Once decrypted by volunteer analysts, the files revealed detailed internal memos, camera schedules, cast interaction charts, and psychological profiles of each member. One document, chillingly labeled Emotional Thresholds, included precise breakdowns of cast responses under stress, fear, guilt, anger, despair. Every reaction had been anticipated and manipulated to create maximum dramatic impact. Fans, legal experts, and psychologists weighed in, describing the documents as proof of systematic emotional exploitation. With each new leak, the moral debate escalated. Was VH1 guilty of abuse? Had producers crossed the line from entertainment into cruelty? And what of Maya Henderson, hero, villain, or both? The mythos surrounding her grew. She was credited by some as the only person who had the foresight and courage to document what the network tried to hide, but others speculated she had orchestrated the chaos to enhance her own legend. Threads discussing her actions became as popular as the lost footage itself. The network, meanwhile, was in crisis. Sponsors withdrew contracts, advertisers paused campaigns, and executives resigned in waves. Internal emails, leaked anonymously, revealed discussions of a full erasure plan, designed to remove all evidence of the unreleased season from servers and caches worldwide. According to insiders, the plan was partially executed, but decentralized fan archives had already made eradication impossible. The lost season had transcended its original media myth, had become folklore, living in every comment, clip, and encrypted file shared globally. In parallel, fans began decoding subtle visual cues in old aired episodes, convinced VH1 had hidden references to the unreleased season in plain sight. Background props, fleeting shadows, camera angles all became part of an elaborate scavenger hunt. Some claimed the network had embedded a secret apology or confession in recurring visual motifs, though skeptics dismissed this as pattern-finding obsession. The point was clear. The audience was no longer passive. The hunt for truth became interactive, communal, and relentless. The saga culminated when a live stream appeared on a fringe website, displaying what appeared to be a reconstruction of the lost season. The footage combined leaked clips, fan recreations, and unverified audio tracks. Viewers claimed the stream lasted 20 hours, looping chaos, confrontation, and confession. At certain points, shadowy figures moved in the background, unidentifiable but eerie. Whispers were audible, sometimes recognizable as cast members, sometimes distorted beyond recognition. Chat rooms erupted as viewers tried to identify every face, every voice, every subtle cue. The live stream disappeared without trace, leaving only screenshots, fan edits, and theories. By this point, the unreleased season had entered legend. It was more than a show, was a psychological experiment, a viral phenomenon, and a cautionary tale of entertainment's darkest potential. Debates raged over ethics, fame, power, and exploitation. Every new leak, every snippet, every rumor fueled a narrative that had no end. Maya Henderson, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, cast members, and VH1 executives existed in a tangled web of reality and myth. The final truth, whatever it was, remained just out of reach. Archived, encrypted, and whispered about in the corners of the internet. And somewhere, deep inside the bowels of a shuttered VH1 studio, lights flickered once again. An old editing suite hummed to life. Fans claimed they could hear typing, the shuffle of papers, and a faint, persistent whisper, "They promised." The phrase had become mantra, legend, and warning. No one knew who spoke it, or if it belonged to the past, present, or some orchestrated future. But one thing was certain: the lost season, unreleased, yet omnipresent, haunted reality television forever, its echoes shaping every discussion, every speculation, and every shadowy corner of the internet. The story wasn't over. It had only just begun. As the months dragged on, the obsession surrounding the unreleased season transformed into something almost ritualistic. Fan groups evolved into organized networks, calling themselves the Archivists. They created private servers, mirrored files, and sophisticated trackers to ensure no fragment of footage or document vanished again. Some even started mapping the supposed movements of Maya Henderson, cross-referencing alleged sightings, leaked texts, and timestamps from the forbidden edits. The project became global, spanning multiple time zones, languages, and platforms. What began as curiosity morphed into a full-scale investigation, conducted by fans who treated the unreleased season as both evidence and scripture. VH1's public image, meanwhile, was in ruins. Advertisers shied away, and other networks used the scandal to promote competing shows. One executive memo, leaked anonymously, admitted, "The mythos of the lost season has overtaken our brand. Reality TV as we knew it is finished." Internally, panic dominated meetings. Lawyers scrambled to contain potential litigation, PR teams drafted statements emphasizing creative integrity, and human resources began quietly settling undisclosed claims from former cast and crew members. Each settlement included strict non-disclosure agreements, but fans and investigators already possessed a wealth of leaked material that made secrecy impossible. Then came the footage that would shake the online community to its core. An anonymous upload titled Maya's Edit appeared briefly on a dark web forum. The files allegedly contained hours of uncut camera feeds from the set, showing private moments between cast members, crew, and producers. Viewers reported seeing unmediated emotional breakdowns, arguments escalating off-script, and private confrontations that made the previously leaked materials seem tame. In one scene, a producer whispered directly to the camera, "If they can't take it, they don't belong here," while a terrified cast member sobbed silently in the background. The realism was haunting, the impact immediate. Hashtags like #TruthUntold and #LostSeasonChaos went viral within hours. Interestingly, the footage also revealed new layers of manipulation. Editors were shown adjusting lighting, camera angles, and audio levels in real time to exaggerate tension. They would replay certain clips, forcing cast members to react again and again, eliciting authentic frustration, exhaustion, and panic. Psychological evaluations circulated online, suggesting that prolonged exposure to these conditions could have lasting effects on mental health. Fans debated whether VH1 had crossed an ethical line or whether cast members had signed away rights knowingly. Though leaked internal memos hinted that many had not fully understood the extent of control the producers wielded. Amid this chaos, Maya Henderson re-entered the public eye in an unexpected way. An encrypted social media post appeared with a single image, a blank white screen, timestamped exactly 1 year after her disappearance. The caption read, "Everything they hid lives in the shadows. I am the shadow." Within minutes, the post was deleted, but screenshots and copies had already spread across forums, chat groups, and encrypted messaging apps. Her cryptic declaration fueled speculation. Had she returned to finish exposing the truth? Or was this another layer of manipulation designed to perpetuate her legend? The impact of the lost season extended beyond the network. Social media platforms, streaming services, and forums began introducing stricter content monitoring, citing the incident as an example of what could happen when production reality and raw footage collided. Content warnings became commonplace, and legal scholars referenced the lost season in debates about the responsibility of entertainment companies to protect participants from psychological harm. What was once a story about drama and conflict had evolved into a case study in ethics, media control, and the boundaries of reality television. Even years later, fan groups claimed to discover new clues hidden in aired episodes of other shows. Subtle glances, fleeting background objects, and cryptic dialogue lines were analyzed and archived. The mythology of Maya Henderson, the forbidden edits, and the unseen manipulations became a framework for understanding both reality TV production and the culture surrounding it. Documentaries, podcasts, and investigative pieces referenced the lost season repeatedly, portraying it as a turning point in entertainment history. Through all of it, the phrase "they promised" endured, whispered in leaked footage, echoed in fan posts, and repeated in theorized reenactments. It became symbolic of broken trust, unseen suffering, and the blurred line between performance and reality. Some fans claimed they could hear it in old episodes when watching with enhanced audio. Others swore it appeared in subliminal frames. No one could definitively confirm it, but its presence haunted discussions, shaping the collective consciousness of the audience. In the end, the unreleased season had transcended television. It became legend, cautionary tale, and obsession all at once. Cast members, producers, and executives faded into semi-mythical figures, Fans became archivists, sleuths, and storytellers. Maya Henderson's role, hero, villain, or both, remain debated, her whereabouts unknown, and somewhere, in the archives of servers, private hard drives, and encrypted drives scattered worldwide, the lost season slept, unseen yet omnipresent, waiting for the next person brave or foolish enough to uncover it. And still, the whispers continued, carried on the digital wind, a haunting reminder that some stories refuse to die. They promised. The phrase lingered like a shadow over reality television, a warning and a legend. No network, no executive, no law could erase it. It was living history, whispered in darkness, archived in chaos, and forever etched into the hearts and minds of those who sought the truth. The unreleased season was not just a show.